CNN reports that there are around 24.6 million Americans that are age 12 and older using an illicit drug in the United States. That's a lot of people, and that number is only growing. What makes this further complicated is the number of people arrested for the use of illicit drugs. The relationship between the use of illicit drugs and incarceration suggests that a punitive system of justice has only made matters worse. And rather, this calls for changing the way we punish when a person is caught with or using a drug. As much as we want drugs to disappear and never come back, that would never happen, at least not with the society that we're living in today. A drug-free America would not be a realistic goal right now, but we can start with reducing drug abuse and decriminalizing drugs while still making drugs illegal to use. It would start with helping the drug addicts get clean and better themselves. Drug addicts can be someone's sister, brother, mother, father, cousin, grandmother, and grandfather, and so on. Decriminalization can be the distinction between someone that is loved by their family to get the health services that they so desperately need and prevent from a loved one on being stigmatized. They would be stigmatized because drug addicts are sometimes deemed as criminals, and that's not always the case. They are human beings that need help to stop their bodies from using these drugs because they can't help themselves. The drugs take over them, and if they are denied treatment, then they can't get better and might be in danger of losing their life if they don't get the help that they need. So what is drug decriminalization? Taken from the Drug Policy Alliance, drug decriminalization is when criminal penalties for drug use and possession are eliminated, which also includes eliminating criminal penalties for the possession of equipment that would help put drugs in the person's body. Like when a person is using heroin, they will use syringes to inject themselves with heroin. So the question arises, why is criminalization a problem? Some people might prefer to criminalize drugs and put people in jail and or prison with anyone using or in possession of drugs. That anyone associated with drugs should automatically be put away. This exact kind of mentality that people have is the reason why there's such a stigma behind drug users. They are seen as criminals rather than a human being that needs help with their addiction so they can become a better person and a citizen that can contribute. But the criminalization of drugs leads to mass incarceration. From the Drug Policy Alliance, the United States has less than 5% of the world's population, but 25% of it are prisoners. Currently, there are 2.3 million people behind bars and 5 million under criminal justice supervision because of a drug offense. Those are the jarring consequences of a drug conviction, not to mention that these numbers would only continue to grow if America doesn't change their drug policies. Each year, over 1.6 million people are arrested, prosecuted, and incarcerated for a drug law violation. That's a lot of people, and we can decrease that amount if we decriminalize drugs. Decriminalizing drugs would decrease the number of people incarcerated by people not getting arrested for using or in possession of drugs, and also would increase public safety and help by helping people get the help that they need by getting themselves clean and free from drugs. It's no secret that America has a drug problem. Taken from CNN and the Center for Disease Control, they have stated that drugs now kill more people than cars and guns. In 2014 alone, there has been over 45,000 accidental deaths due to drug overdoses. Then there are 35,000 deaths due to fatal traffic accidents and under 35,000 deaths due to shootings. We can lessen these numbers by getting people the help that they need instead of jailing them. Under the United States Attorney's Manual, there's the Criminal Resource Manual, and under 1032, Sentencing Enhancement, there's the 3 Strikes Law. The 3 Strikes Law is a law that provides mandatory life imprisonment if he or she has been convicted in federal court of a serious violent felony and has 2 or more prior convictions in federal or state courts. The 3 Strike Laws is a law that goes against decriminalizing drugs. It goes against it because there wouldn't be any drug offenses when you decriminalize drugs. When there are no drug offenses, people won't be able to go to jail for life if they have 3 minor convictions. When you decriminalize drug possession and drug use, you lessen mass incarceration. Fewer people would be in jail or prison, and there are many cases in which individuals are behind bars for drug possession and have life sentences for these non-violent drug charges. One of these cases is a man named Daniel Mosley, who was sentenced to life without parole in 2008 after officers found 4 ounces of meth in his pocket. He was leaving a dealer's house when that occurred. Since he had a minor drug arrest and convictions prior to being arrested in 2008, he was charged as a 3-strikes offender. Mosley's drug addiction started when he was a teenager. Then his addiction led to many minor-related convictions. After he was arrested because of the meth, Mosley completed a drug treatment program, got clean, and was even to graduate school to become a drug and alcohol counselor. He wanted to change his life around, and it showed. But due to his life sentence, he doesn't have a chance to live a better life. It also takes a lot of money to keep a prisoner in jail or prison. According to a study from the Independent Budget Office mentioned in the New York Times, the city had paid $167,731 to give each prisoner food, shelter, and to guard each one of them. The annual average taxpayer in 40 states was $31,286 per inmate, but for all the jails in New York, the cost is nearly 3 times as much. With drug decriminalization, that price would lessen. One big example of the success in drug decriminalization is Portugal. In 2001, Portugal decriminalized all drugs. Their decriminalization law did not legalize drugs, but rather removed all criminal penalties from acts relating to drug demand, such as acts of acquisition, possession, and consumption. The definition of decriminalization of drugs was made from the European Monitoring Centre for Drugs and Drug Addiction. That law, however, did not change the criminal penalty that forbids the production, distribution, sales of drugs, permitting and regulating the use of drugs. Across Europe, which includes Portugal. To sum it all up, decriminalizing drugs would provide a better future for individuals who are addicted to drugs, individuals that are young as 12 years old, with children being addicted to drugs and they start getting drug charges, they could end up being tried as adults. Decriminalizing drugs would also lessen the stigma that drug addicts have, which is all drug addicts are criminals and should be sent to jail alongside with lessening mass incarceration, as well as reducing racism with jailing minorities for drug offenses and increase public safety and health.